after Seok-Hyo expressed his feelings to Seok-Ryu. Suddenly Seok-Ryu became nervous. She held the pot that was just boiling. Of course, her hand was blistered because of the heat. Seok-Hyo immediately held her hand and poured water on it. Seok-Ryu felt Seok-Hyo's warm hand. And Seok-Hyo was worried that her hand would leave a mark. Seok-Ryu could already guess that when she decided to cook, she would get hurt taking care of water, fire and oil. But still Seok-Hyo always worried about her, because from the past until now Seok-Ryu always didn't take care of her attitude, starting from her attitude to her mother and also to many other people. So, Seok-Hyo hoped that there would be good people around her. He also asked Seok-Ryu to pay attention to his feelings and he would give her time to answer. Seok-Hyo gave a gift to his mother which he put on her dressing table. The gift was a very beautiful necklace, and his mother really liked it. While her husband returned to the hospital, his fellow doctors wondered why he returned, because previously he seemed to have an important event. He also answered that he was wrong. He thought it was all over, but it seems not. Seok-Ryu thought Seok-Hyo might not know, but she was the one who liked him first. The incident happened when she was little and she slowly forgot about it. Strangely, the feeling is still very clear.
최승효잖아.
While Seok-Hyo still can't believe his actions. He is confused whether he was too hasty and made her confused. But he feels like he has done his best. He can't hesitate forever. He feels like he's lost his mind because of Seok-Ryu. How will he face Seok-Ryu tomorrow? In the room, Seok-Ryu was practicing slicing using a knife, while Seok-Hyo banged his head because he was still thinking about Seok-Ryu. They both couldn't sleep and checked each other's bedroom windows. In the morning, his mother saw that Seok-Hyo looked tired. And Seok-Hyo reasoned that he was just a little busy. He was happy when he saw the necklace that his mother was wearing. His mother was very happy and she thanked her son. His mother would remember it forever and Seok-Hyo promised to buy a better one next time. When his father came home, Seok-Hyo said that his mother had a birthday yesterday, but his father only apologized for being too busy so he forgot. Seok-Ryu tried to cover her eye bags and at that time she saw Seok-Hyo's tie. She wondered why he was wiping her nosebleed with a tie. She also planned to return his tie. Her mother was curious when she saw Seok-Ryu not wearing a shirt. And her mother also smelled a very fragrant perfume. Seok-Ryu and Seok-Hyo met in front of the house. They looked awkward. When discussing about sleeping last night, they both explained that they slept soundly last night, even though they couldn't sleep. Then Seok-Ryu returned Seok-Hyo's clean tie. But Seok-Hyo actually hoped that the tie wasn't clean so that it could be buried with it. Seok-Ryu felt strange because Seok-Hyo suddenly discussed a funeral. Seok-Ryu was sure that their ages would reach 100 years. Hearing that, Seok-Hyo teased Seok-Ryu that they would live together for 100 years. Seok-Ryu became even more nervous. Then she asked permission to give an answer later. Seok-Hyo asked her to think about it carefully. Then they looked for food or drinks that had an expiration date. The time to consider the answer was the same as the expiration date of the food or drink. Seok-Ryu looked for the one that had long expiration date, but Seok-Hyo looks for one with a short expiration date. And when she saw Seok-Hyo, Seok-Ryu's heart beat fast. She then left Seok-Hyo. Of course, Seok-Hyo was confused because Seok-Ryu suddenly disappeared.
죄송합니다.
Dan-ho planned to write an article based on a real experience. He asked his boss's permission to write the article. It turned out he would be an emergency response officer for one day. Moim was a bit surprised, but Dan-ho promised not to bother her. Moim also doubted that he would be able to lift heavy weights. Then Dan-ho did push-ups in front of Moim. He wanted to explain the misunderstanding, so that Moim would be sure of his stamina. And when she saw Dan-ho's muscles, Moim felt awkward and asked him to stop.
책임지고 도와드릴 겁니다.
Hae-in invited Mrs. Misak to meet. Mrs. Misak was disappointed because they cancelled the engagement. Hae-in apologized for not being able to give a reason. Hearing that Mrs. Misak feels that she can't fix their relationship anymore. Hae-in explains that he never hated Seok-Ryu and still loves her. And when Mr. Bae passed by, he saw his wife, who was in a cafe with Hae-in. Seung-Hyo sent a photo to Seok-Ryu of milk with an expiration date only 11 days. Of course, Seok-Ryu didn't accept it because he chose a short expiration date. Friends in the cooking class were shocked to hear Seok-Ryu's screams.
잘 있어라.
Mr. Bae was waiting for his wife at home. He waited for his wife's answer, who had just met Hae-in. Why did his wife treat him as Seok-Ryu's father? His wife explained that he still loves Seok-Ryu and wants to return to the US together. Hearing that, Mr. Bae became very angry. Why is his wife so obsessed with Seok-Ryu going to the US? Does she want to sell her daughter? Mrs. Misak explained that she didn't want Seok-Ryu to fail and live like her. She didn't want Seok-Ryu to be poor and miserable.
아무것도 모르면서.
Dongjin talked to his mother. He wanted to be an influencer and needed a lot of followers. That's why he needed money to buy followers. Then after that he would look for sponsors to sell products on a platform. Seok-Ryu came and immediately hit her younger brother. She said, even parasites still have a conscience. Why did he depend on his parents all his life? Doesn't he feel sorry for his mother? Their mother felt a headache hearing them fight. Seok-Ryu felt that her mother always spoiled him, so he acted like that. Her mother was like that because there was a hole in Dongjin's heart. But Seok-Ryu felt that Dongjin's heart had closed and he was healthy. Her mother still defended him because her son was sick. And Seok-Ryu felt that being sick was that important. Seung-Hyo sent a message to Seok-Ryu that said, 10 more days, enjoy today. Seok-Ryu saw it with excitement because he also sent an emoji. And at that time, she met Hae-in. He gave jasmine tea to Seok-Ryu because Seok-Ryu used to really like it. And Seung-Hyo told Tae-hui that he had confessed his feelings to Seok-Ryu. Tae-hui was curious about her reaction, but she didn't answer. So that's how it ended. That's why men and women can't be friends. But the reason Seung-Hyo can't be friends with Seok-Ryu is not because she's a woman. It's because she's Bae Seok-Ryu. Tae-hui was angry, but she agreed, because she didn't feel like Seung-Hyo betrayed her. Seung-Hyo was a good man when they were dating. While Tae-hui was very emotional. That might be why she can't forget Seung-Hyo. But Seung-Hyo might also be dumped by Seok-Ryu. Because the man at the restaurant looked great, he was sexy, mature and established. Is Seung-Hyo feels threatened? She then asked Seung-Hyo to contact friends if the relationship doesn't go well. Seung-Hyo is curious because Tae-hui always thinks negatively. While on the way, Mrs. Misak sees Seok-Ryu coming out of a place. She asks what place it is, and Seok-Ryu's teacher explains that it is a culinary school that holds cooking classes. Seok-Ryu's mother looks shocked and immediately meets her husband. Seung-Hyo is asked to come home by Dongjin because he has something to ask. Seok-Ryu feels unbelievable with her brother who also asks him. Then her mother comes home and immediately takes out the contents of Seok-Ryu's bag. Her mother finds a book about culinary and asks why Seok-Ryu brought the book. Seok-Ryu answered, because she wanted to cook. Her mother was even more shocked when Seung-Hyo found out. Seok-Ryu explained that Seung-Hyo was not wrong because it was her business and her dream. She intended to tell them after getting her certification. She had worked hard to find her dream. Her father then asked about her studies and experiences. Her father couldn't believe it and thought that Seok-Ryu was a smart idiot. Does she think she can handle that kind of job with that mentality? Seok-Ryu could only stare at her father, and then Dongjin came. She thought her parents were too hard on her. Why are the standards different between Dongjin and her? Do they know why Seok-Ryu works hard? It's because they suffer a lot because of Dongjin. She doesn't want to add to their burden. But they still give her brother freedom and don't give her any room to make mistakes. Why can't she do what she wants? Her father gave her the freedom to do anything, as long as it wasn't cooking. He wasn't allowed to because his father had tried. Hearing that, Seok-Ryu was disappointed and left the house. Seung-Hyo chased after her and asked her to leave. Seung-Hyo felt that knowing everything in detail about their past was not beneficial for him. At that time the leaves were falling and Seok-Ryu tried to catch them. It seemed like she was feeling better. But Seok-Ryu was a little embarrassed. How could Seung-Hyo see all the embarrassing things in her life? She thought that venting would make her feel relieved, but it turned out to be worse. Seung-Hyo felt that parents were not always right, they also did wrong to their children. When arguing with them, we feel guilty for no reason. Seok-Ryu was surprised how Seung-Hyo could know. Had he ever fought with his parents? She thought Seung-Hyo's parents were careful in speaking and he also didn't have a stupid younger sibling. Seok-Ryu was confused. Where would she practice cooking now? Then Seung-Hyo offers to practice in his office kitchen. She can practice after everyone leaves. Seung-Hyo also reminds Seok-Ryu that there are only 9 days left because it's already midnight. Dan-ho prepares to become an emergency response. Moim explains about the basic equipment used. Before finishing explaining, suddenly there is an emergency call and they rush off. There is a man who is attacked by beasts and Dan-ho is asked to come over to help him. Seung-Hyo calls Seok-Ryu and offers her cooking practice at his office. But it turns out that Seok-Ryu comes with Hae-Jun. Of course, Seung-Hyo wonders why Seok-Ryu came with him. It turns out that Hae-Jun is there to consult about architecture. Hae-Jun plans to build a vacation home for his parents. While he was consulting, suddenly Myung-woo got a call and had to go back home. So, he asked Hae-Jun to finish the consultation with Seung-Hyo. And Seung-Hyo immediately refused to work on it. He also asked him not to appear in front of Seok-Ryu because their relationship is over. But Hae-Jun feels that their relationship is too strong to be broken that easily. And Seung-Hyo will see what their relationship is like. But Seung-Hyo doesn't want to know about their past. Because he believes Seok-Ryu's words. They sit side by side watching Seok-Ryu, who was cooking. Suddenly they smelled a delicious and savory smell, like caramel. It turned out that Seung-Hyo brought popcorn that he kept in his bag. When Seok-Ryu wanted to eat, Hae-Jun didn't allow it because the food was unhealthy. But Seok-Ryu still ate it and liked it. Seung-Hyo was happy because Seok-Ryu liked it and Hae-Jun just kept quiet. Finally, Dan-ho finished carrying out his duties as an emergency response officer. Mo-im felt like Dan-ho was going to faint from exhaustion. His face was also bruised from a bee sting. Then Mo-im's boss invited him to eat together. They enjoyed eating meat, and Dan-ho would make an article that was in accordance with the feud. That they lacked time to eat and also to the bathroom. And Dan-ho also asked about the difficulties they faced while on duty. It turned out that most of them had difficulty dating because they were too busy. Most of them dated their office friends. But Mo-im never did that. Then one of her colleagues said that Mo-im likes the man she calls madman. Hearing that, Mo-im and Dan-ho became embarrassed. Finally, Seok-Ryu's cooking was cooked and she served it to them both. When they tasted it, Seok-Ryu suddenly had pain in her stomach. Seung-Hyo held her hand and took her to the hospital. But Seok-Ryu let go of Seung-Hyo's hand and asked Hae-Jun to hold her. Hae-Jun took her to the hospital and Seung-Hyo could only look at them. It turns out that 3 years ago, she had surgery in the US. And had surgery because she had stage 2 stomach cancer. 70% of her stomach was removed and she underwent chemotherapy. What will the plot of this drama actually be like? From a romantic comedy, will it turn into a sad story?